I recommend this game with no commitment. Like seriously, you can play it, you might have fun, you might get frustrated, or you might just question why you ever loved Batman. But hey, that's Gotham Knights for you. Batman is dead, the city is a mess, and you are four slightly annoyed kids trying to do his job. Now when I say Batman games, people usually think of the classics. The Arkham trilogy, maybe Origins if you're feeling generous. I said if you're feeling generous, I'm not forcing you to add this to the list, bro. Those games were ahead of their time. The graphics, the mechanics, the storytelling, chef kiss, all so polished they set the gold standard for Batman games. Then came, drumroll, Gotham Knights. Yeah, this game is a game that asks what happens when Batman dies. The concept was bold, passing the mantle to Nightwing, Batgirl, Robin, and Red Hood, each with their own playstyle and perspective. It was a creative way to explore Gotham without its central figure. However, the execution left critics and fans divided. I mean, I kinda get the 50-50 comments about this or the negative opinions about this because the Arkham games were released years ago, yet they still hold up incredibly well. So naturally, a new Batman-related title in this era should feel like a step forward, not backward, you feel me? So this game had the burden of living in Arkham's shadow, and that is why Gotham Knights is a game living in Arkham.
Unlike you, I'm not afraid of dying. I'd rather keep my human.
Yup, that happened. What a way to start the video. Anyways, let me just rewind back a little bit. There we go, right the spot. Okay, the video, or rather the story, starts with a showdown between a grandpa who overdosed on green goo that makes you immortal against the man, the myth, none other than the Batman. Yeah, not that one. Sorry, not that one. The Batman. Nice. The choreography here is actually solid. The fighting, the transition from one place to another, they're smashing things, swinging swords, using their environments to fight, which is actually good, commendable. The funny part is, yeah, Batman decides to stab himself with the Ra's al Ghul's sword. Wow, just to prove a point too, man. Like, bro, you don't need to stab yourself just to prove you are human. Okay, so the cutscene ends with Batman blowing up the entire Batcave along with the both of them, which means Gotham's greatest hero goes out in a cinematic explosion, leaving behind 4 mourning children who now have to cosplay their way through crime fighting. After that, we also get a cutscene at his funeral where his uncle Jacob Kane gives a eulogy for his nephew. Then the game transitions to character selection. You get to pick one out of the 4 vigilantes, each with their own brand of coping mechanism. We got Nightwing, the golden boy, the most handsome, I guess, most charming, acrobatics, face card. Man, all I could say about Nightwing is positive things.
I was an acrobat, you know?
We got Barbara Gordon, yes, you are right, the one who got shot at her spine. In this continuity, she's doing great, recovering from Joker's injury. Yes, and she's using a brace while doing the crime fighting thing. And also Tim Drake, the detective. Yeah, and last but not the least, my favorite one, the best of the best, Red Hood. Let's go. Tortured by the Joker, resurrected in the Lazarus pit, and the list just goes on. What the heck is this script? Of course, out of the 4, I pick Red Hood because he is my favorite among all of them. I mean, it's Red Hood, man. Probably the most realistic vigilante out there too. The gameplay kicks off with you investigating with whichever character you pick. This is also where the game introduces its mechanics: sliding, rolling, grappling, detective mode, or in this game, it is called AR mode. Augmented reality? I don't know. It is pretty similar to detective mode. The only difference is once you hold the AR mode and point it to certain highlighted objects, it lets you identify it and its purpose. In a nutshell, you're investigating the death of a zoologist named Langstrom, who mysteriously died from something. This is also where the big brain investigate mechanic is introduced. This certain mechanic is something that we have not seen in any other Batman games. It basically lets you be a detective where you get to connect clues that are related, which makes you progress through the whole story. I find it intriguing at first, but in reality, gamers would most likely search this up on Google to be able to get past it. Moving on, this is also our very first combat tutorial. We are introduced to the faction called Freaks, which are Harley Quinn's goons. This is the part where the game teaches us how to do ambush takedowns, silent takedowns, range attacks, heavy range attacks, basic attack, heavy basic attack, the basics of the basics. Yeah. Going back to factions, these are criminal organizations that are led by by different antagonists. We have Regulator, they are basically Freeze's goons, the Mob, which is led by Penguin, Clayface goons, Court of Owls, and the League. Lastly, the Freaks, which are, Harley Quinn's goons. With the core gameplay mechanics established, the game then introduces one of its most controversial features. I am not sure if this is still controversial since this game was released a couple of years ago and people don't give a damn no more. I do think that this system feels out of place considering how the Arkham series was made and it leaned more on the action-focused style rather than RPG. The Arkham series did so well and it conditioned our brain to be the standard of any Batman-related games. So yeah, we expected something similar or far more better from the upcoming games, and that upcoming game was Gotham Knights, unfortunately. So yeah, the expectations were not met and it led to negative opinions about the game. Personally, even after 30 hours of gameplay, I still haven't fully grasped how the gear system works. I mostly just craft items with a green arrow that points upward, assuming they are far better. Also, the problem is that the game doesn't do a great job explaining these mechanics. Also, the grind that comes with them, oh my days, its progression is repetitive. You are forced to keep upgrading your gear just to match enemy level scaling. There are also additional layers of shenanigans within the crafting system, such as modifiers, mod chips. These are essentially buffs that enhance the stats of your gear and offer some level of playstyle customization. But in my case, I usually just equip whatever has the highest level. I don't really pay attention to the rarity of the mod chip. On top of that, certain gear pieces comes with elemental attributes that can be used to counter specific enemy factions. It adds another layer of strategy, but it can also feel overwhelming. Sometimes you just want to enjoy the core combat, just go with the flow, that dopamine, that sensation, but instead you're hit with all these extra systems to manage. That said, the gear designs themselves are genuinely impressive. While not all of them, for me, it's subjective, but in general, this system isn't what I was looking for in a Batman game, and it ultimately detracts from the experience. Our next mission is to unlock a biodescription key using Langstrom's body, which naturally led to sneaking into GCPD headquarters. On the way, I tested Red Hood's combat more, and let me tell you, it's non-lethal in the worst way possible. We all know Red Hood, his fighting style is raw power, just pure hands and guns, punch you in the face. Stealth here, at least for Red Hood, feels clunky. Let's just say it is not his strong suit. Look at him. He's literally built like a refrigerator, bro. So slipping past enemies is not his forte. When it comes to the other characters, I do think that stealth is decent, but if you compare it with the OG, it still has a long way to go, but the game is not updating anymore, so I think it won't ever surpass the Arkham series. What I really liked in this part is Nightwing and Robin's silent takedown. The animation looked good and smooth, and if you're aiming for stealthy gameplay, I recommend Robin. He has an advantage in that aspect. I'll talk about that later. Inside, we find Talia al Ghul, who's about to cremate her father's body, and she actually does it. Zero hesitation. They had a small dialogue talking about what Talia is planning. After that, we went back to the Belfry. One thing that really elevated Gotham Knights, even if just a little, is how it handles character emotion and interactions. The developers nailed this aspect through the cutscenes. It has that emotional impact, you can genuinely feel the weight of what these characters are going through. As I progressed to the story, we did a whole lot of shenanigans. We talked to Talia al Ghul and found out she got kicked out of the League, which of course Red Hood found suspicious. We also started the Harley Quinn's questline. Apparently before Bruce's death, Harley was working with him. She has this book that we need for investigation, so yeah, we are up to some fun stuff. And that's cringe. To get to Harley Quinn's cell, we had to incapacitate a few GCPD officers and deal with some inmates along the way. Talking about combat once again, the combat feels clunky. Well, that's what I thought at first. When I tried out the rest of the character, I was wrong. The reason why Red Hood's combat feels heavy and clunky was because of his build and character. Yeah, I only played Red Hood all throughout the playthrough and the Bat Fam for like side quests and yeah, open world shenanigans, I guess. When it comes to the rest of the Bat Fam, Batgirl, Nightwing, and Robin, it is not bad but it lacks fluidity. My favorite one is Nightwing. Just look at his acrobat skills. I think he's the most fluid when it comes to combat. I am not glazing. Yes, I am. Eventually, we reached Harley, and the conversation revealed what Bruce had asked her to do. high-profile criminals. So yeah, that is pretty much the contents of the book. This questline, I'm gonna say, was pretty damn chaotic. I mean, we fought both GCPD officers and inmates, along with this huge freaking abomination. We also had to chase, or Harley made us chase, the freaking book that was attached to a balloon. What I love about this questline though, you fight enemies while this background sound is playing. Yeah, it kinda hypes you up for some reason. Back at the Belfry, Tim Drake does his usual thing. The detective brain kicks in, while the rest are confused about the book. He notices something off. The book mentions important people who managed to get out on appeal, but then he points out Cobblepot. Unlike the others, Penguin actually served his time. That little detail becomes our first real lead. So we bicycled our way to the Iceberg Lounge, Penguin's icy little empire. Talking about mobility, I found 4 ways to travel around Gotham. Walk or run? Well, that is out of the option, obviously. Grappling is okay. It is not that smooth. I mean, it is decent, bearable, I'm gonna say. We got the freaking slowsicle. For some reason, you get this motion blur to make it look like the bicycle is running at light speed. Well, it does not. Lastly, the momentum abilities. We have different abilities for each of the vigilantes. We got Red Hood's mystical leap. I don't know where he got this, but I guess it is a side effect of getting revived using the pit. We have Nightwing's flying trapeze that pops out of nowhere. Trapeze, I don't know how to pronounce it. Next one is Batgirl's cape. Honestly, it's not bad. The fluidity and movement wasn't just hitting the right spot. Yeah, that sounded terrible. And lastly, a freaking abomination. We got Robin's instant transmission. Yeah, basically he teleports, bro. I don't know. You heard that right, he teleports. Is he using the freaking Justice League teleporter or something? Bro, this is just crazy. Overall, the traversal system looks decent, but it is not worth the freaking grind. I just don't get why you are not able to use it instantly, since mobility is like a crucial part in this kind of games, and it's supposed to make things fun. Red Dude sat down for a talk, while he didn't actually sit. Anyways, the question was simple. Who is handing out these get out of jail cards? Cobblepot, of course, wasn't having it. He basically told us that if we are not Batman, we are not getting anything. We talked to Alfred. He explains that if we want Penguin to cooperate, we'll need to hit him where it hurts. Stop crimes, basically. I guess stopping crimes would eventually ruin his operations, and eventually he'll talk. Basically, Batman's old playbook, grind down the enemy until they fold. We also had an encounter with Mr. Freeze, but we didn't fight him yet. We just went ahead and stopped his goons and saved some scientists. Our next step was to talk to Detective Montoya. She's basically the younger version of Jim Gordon. The two had a conversation about the aftermath of Batman's death. Without him, the department has rotted from the inside. The good cops, the ones who used to stand with Gordon, are now being punished. Lucius Fox, on the other hand, gives us a new toy, a glider, but of course it is not plug and play. To use it, we first need to deal with surveillance drones, which is pretty, I don't know, tedious to do. You have to scan, repeat, rinse and repeat, you know. How they work is that they serve as fast travel points, so you don't need to bicycle or grapple your way to wherever. I didn't even bother unlocking these things since I am too freaking lazy. We checked on Alfred because he's literally the only functioning family member left, and he was out at his evening meeting. Upon reaching the destination, we get a cutscene of Alfred meeting Jacob Kane. They were talking about Bruce's death and some adjustments when suddenly a thug pulled up to threaten 2 old men. Like, gang, what is you doing? That is Alfred, the Alfred that raised the Batman. Even if he's old, he can still beat your cheeks into early retirement. Dude didn't even need to throw hands. They basically shooed this guy away with their aura.
You know what? Never mind.
Now let's talk about quest lines, because at this point of my playthrough I started juggling between the main and side quest. Well, it kind of forces you to do it. If you don't do it, you'll get absolutely demolished because of the scaling. The main quest here is genuinely quick if it wasn't for the open world repetitive grinding. I mean, there isn't much. I just wish they incorporated some of the side quests to the main quest to make the pacing more natural and not repetitive. We then went to the Powers Club. We beat up some guards and AR'd our way through the depths of the place until we found the hidden underground puzzle. Not gonna lie, this thing had me tweaking out, bro. Basically almost every puzzle in this game will make you crash out. Yeah, I ran out of patience. Solving it unlocked a hidden passage where we got to beat some owl cheeks. We then get introduced to a member of the Court of Owls, a woman in a wheelchair, yapping about her evil plans. You in a wheelchair, what you gonna do? Just kidding. I mean, no offense to the people who uses a wheelchair, but this woman specifically is beyond redemption. We fought more guards and stumbled upon a member tied to an outpost. Surprised it was a trap. Entered the voice of the court. Basically the ringleader of this occult. Then they threw us into pits of deadly traps. This part was so freaking annoying, it died more times than I'd like to admit. I just couldn't get the proper momentum that I needed, bro. I fell into a place filled with bones, piles of dead people everywhere. We found a key for something, who knows, climbed our way back up and returned to the belfry. The Batfam talked about how Bruce hid his investigations from them. They all assumed the court was just Circus Myth. Now they're wrong. Sorry to break it to you all, but after this I continued the Mr. Freeze questline. I didn't know that I was doing the side quest, not the main one. I was so freaking confused. The whole city was freezing thanks to Mr. Ice Grandpa. Now the mission is to reach Elliot Center. We fought regulators, broke through ice, and climbed our way to the top. After beating more of Freeze's goons, we finally reached the top in our first major boss fight, Mr. Freeze. Beating this guy was hard. I don't know if I'm just dumb or if it's because the difficulty was cranked up, but I died a lot. If I'm not mistaken, Freeze has 3 phases, each harder than the last. He basically turns into a bullet hell boss. Quick tip, rolling is way better than sliding when dodging his range attack. Personally, I didn't like the phases of Mr. Freeze. There were barely any changes to his attack pattern, but it did get hard. All because of the damage, I guess, and a little bit of unpredictability, I'm guessing. At one point though, he even looked like he was shooting snowballs at us. After enough retries, we finally beat him. His suit malfunctioned and is left vulnerable. Red Hood then mutters, "I can't believe I'm doing this." Same Jason, same. He honors Bruce's code and spares Freeze. Overall, I have not played the other side quest bosses, but it did feel much more fun fighting Freeze than fighting Talia and Bruce, which we are going to talk about later. I move on to Harley Quinn's questline, which starts with a strange promo video for her trying to sell sketchy products like healing accessories and supplements. The Bat family quickly brushes it off, saying it's all nonsense and that she's basically selling people false hope, which honestly fits her character. The next step takes us to the Monarch Theater, where trouble starts right away. The place is packed with enemies and getting through them becomes the main focus as we search the building. Along the way, we found a stash of suspicious medicine, which only raises more questions and of course leads to more fights. When we reach the stage, it's clear we've walked into a trap. Harley shows up and twists the story, making us look like the bad guy to whoever's watching. After that, things turn into a series of tougher fights with a couple of strong enemies thrown in to keep the pressure up. It doesn't slow down from there. The action moves underground where bombs are set up and ready to explode. Disarming them becomes a race against time while still dealing with non-stop attacks, including some familiar enemies coming back for round 2. It's a tough part but manageable with a bit of patience. Once it's over, Harley appears again, joking around and even grading our performance before hinting that she's not done yet. Instead of sticking with her storyline, it feels like a good time to head back to the main quest. After that, there's a really nice scene between Jason and Barbara. They share a simple, light-hearted dance game, one of the few calm moments in the story before Jason starts feeling the effect of the Lazarus Pit again. Barbara comforts him and it really highlights their bond. It shows that their strength comes not just from fighting, but from being there for each other when things get hard. Now shifting back to the main story, we come across a hidden door that can only be opened using the Lazarus energy. On the other side is one of the Court of Owl's nests. While looking around, we uncover a document mentioning Alexander Moreno. Alfred points out that he's connected to Elena Moreno, a judge who will become important later on. From there, the next step is solving a puzzle that reveals part of the court's plan, specifically an operation targeting the Chelsea Tunnel. Once we arrive, we discover an entrance leading underground, but communication cuts out, forcing us to continue alone. Not long after, we run into the Talons for the very first time. They are highly skilled, almost unresponsive fighters that can dodge most attacks unless you time things carefully. After dealing with the first one, the path forward involves navigating deeper through the area using grappling and some platforming to cross gaps. This leads to an old mining site where even more Talons shows up. I'm telling y'all, they are easily some of the toughest enemies so far. Progressing further requires a bit of trial and error during an investigation segment which introduces a substance called Dionysium. Things escalate when we take an elevator and end up facing overwhelming odds against more Talons. With no real way to win head on, the only option is to retreat as the whole place starts falling apart. On the way out, Talia contacted us and asked for a meeting. When we found her, she just yapped a lot of shenanigans. I didn't manage to listen to all of them, but I did get some of the important parts, I'm guessing. Basically, the court is extracting a corrupted form of Lazarus Pit and using it to create Talons. That is Dionysium, guys. After returning to the Belfry, the next objective is to protect Mark Hendricks, a target of the court. Once we track him down, it turns into another fight against both Talons and court members. Afterward, he hands over a drive containing useful intel. Back at the Belfry, a discussion connects everything together. The court, the league, and how both tie into Bruce and Ra's al Ghul's death. With Batman gone, Gotham is left vulnerable, and it's shaping up to be a full conflict between the two factions, leaving the team to deal with the fallout. The mission then moves to the Orchard Hotel. Orchard Hotel, I'm not sure. After preparing a bit, we sneak inside, disable the security system, and quietly observe a gathering to identify members of the court and their plans. Tracking down the voice requires staying undetected, eventually leading to a hidden elevator and a path to a secret 13th floor. Inside, we fight through more enemies, gather evidence using the drive, and solve another puzzle. This one is based on arranging events in chronological order. It's pretty straightforward once you get the idea. Soon after, the voice calls us in for a meeting. In the following scene, he reveals himself as Jacob Kane. Initially, I really thought there was something off with that guy. I mean, already got spoiled though. This game was released a long time ago, so yeah. The conversation makes it clear that his beliefs are very different, and he gives Jason an ultimatum: join the court or face the consequences. At the same time, things spiral as the League of Shadows launches an attack on the court, which we see unfolding through security footage. Fighting breaks out everywhere, and as we make our way back, we get caught in the middle of both sides clashing. The League's assassins prove especially dangerous and far more disciplined compared to the court's forces. I just don't see any possibilities of the court winning against the League. After pushing through the chaos and taking down multiple enemies, we finally make it back to the Belfry. The following scene has the team reflecting on everything, especially how Jacob managed to deceive everyone, including his own family. After that, we get a few quieter moments. Well, as quiet as Gotham allows. There's some bonding time between Jason and Tim, which is actually pretty nice, and then Jason confronts Talia about the League's little massacre spree. Unsurprisingly, that conversation was tense. We also check in with Detective Montoya, who fills us in on corrupt GCPD officers and how their involvement might complicate bringing Jacob Kane in, because of course the police are also part of the problem. Following that, we raid one of the court's hideouts, taking down both officers and court members. While digging around, we find evidence confirming that some GCPD cops are actively covering for the Owls. We head back to the Belfry only to receive a recorded message from Penguin, who is now conveniently being held hostage. So we pull up to the Iceberg Lounge, which is absolutely trash. The place looks like it lost a fight with the hurricane. Inside Penguin's office, we find him literally pinned to a wall. Not metaphorically, like actually stuck there. We get him down, but as we try to carry him out, he hits us with a dramatic, "It's either you or me." And then boom, mysterious gas fills the room and we're knocked out. Love that for us, bro. We woke up in a weird place that feels like a dream, except it's not. Turns out it's more like a nightmare escape room designed by someone who hates you personally. Every time we die, a picture of us shows up on the wall, which is not comforting. Escaping this labyrinth is rough. It messes with Jason's head, throwing trauma after trauma at him. It includes visions of killing Bruce, just a casual mental breakdown simulator. Also Alfred's death. Eventually, we made it out, solve a puzzle, and of course got jumped by Talons mid-process because they cannot mind their freaking business. After dealing with them, we push forward into more rooms, more fights, and eventually a bigger, creepier Talon with a voice straight out of a horror movie. Surprisingly, not the worst fight, but still a little bit unsettling. Moving on, we came across what looks like straight up torture equipment, not ominous at all. More Talons show up, and after clearing them, we take control of the area. Using the control room, we mess with platforms, scan a fuel tank, and blow it out, because when in doubt, explode something. That opens a path to an underground tunnel leading to Court's lab. Inside, we interrogated one of the scientists, who casually reveals that the Talons aren't actually dead. They volunteered for this, which somehow makes it worse. We take an elevator down and find the full-on Talon factory. At this point, the court has officially gone from secret society to evil production company. We fight through waves of enemies while shutting down systems, overriding hibernation controls, disabling failsafes, the usual stuff the bad guys checklist. Then we are thrown into a fight against two gladiator-style Talons, which feels exactly as fun as it sounds. It's not actually, bro. After beating them, we get hit with another wave and suddenly we're getting overwhelmed again. The whole place starts collapsing, and yeah, we need to get our ass cheeks out of here, bro. We escape, but not before realizing that some Talons made it out too, and are now loose in the city. So yeah, things didn't actually get better. If anything, probably became worse. At this point, we're really starting to get into the real meat of the story. Like, we're basically at the core of it, but not yet there. Y'all feel me? By now, I've also gotten a lot more familiar with how the open world works. Probably should have been something I talked about way earlier instead of bringing it up mid-video, but timing aside, it's still worth discussing. Honestly, the open world is pretty solid, especially compared to how it was at launch. Since most of the major issues have already been patched, what we're left with now is a much smoother experience overall. It's not perfect, but it's definitely in a better place. In terms of visuals, it's decent, don't expect anything groundbreaking, but it delivers a version of Gotham City that feels complete enough. The buildings, lighting, and overall design give you that dark, slightly gritty Gotham vibe. It may not be the most detailed or next-gen looking city out there, but it does enough to sell the setting. The ambience is nice too, the city doesn't feel completely lifeless. NPCs react when they see you, sometimes making comments or just acknowledging your presence, which adds a bit of immersion. It's small stuff, but it helps. And yeah, you can hit them with the Batical. Not exactly heroic behavior, but the fact that the game allows it is kind of funny in a chaotic way. If we're being completely honest though, the overall quality of the open world isn't bad. It just feels like it could have been more. You can see the potential there, just a little bit more polish, more depth, and maybe more variety in activities or interactions could have reached a higher level. It is a decent game on its own, just don't compare it with other high-end games like Gotham Knights. But I get it if you do, since our mind is kind of programmed to compare things, especially when one thing is bad and one thing is too good and they're related to each other. Another thing that I love about this game, I guess, is the character interaction. Just their expression and the way they talk, the way they move, their gesture and everything is, I guess, spot on. I just don't get it why they made Red Hood look like that. I don't know if that's canon or what, but Red Hood is way more handsome than that, bro. After making it back to the Belfry, we get a cutscene of the Bat family processing everything that just went down. Barbara points out that the court wasn't just attacking physically, they were messing with their minds too. Robin straight up admits it's starting to get to him, even to the point where he's questioning Bruce's no-kill code. And yeah, that doesn't sit well with everyone. Naturally, things spiral into an argument about the labyrinth and everything they have experienced there. Emotions are running high, everyone's talking over each other, and then Alfred steps into the most dad energy you've ever heard. He reminds them that no matter how bad things get, Bruce never lowered himself to the level of his enemies, and neither should they. That pretty much resets the room, everyone cools down, and you can feel the team lock back in. Once things settle, they shift focus to Jacob Kane. The goal is to bring him down properly, but there's a problem. The GCPD is compromised. Not entirely though, because Detective Montoya is still one of the few people you can actually trust. So we go to her and she confirms she has enough evidence to put Kane away for a long time. The catch? She needs a judge to sign off a warrant. That's when Judge Moreno comes into the picture, the sister of Alexander Moreno, whose name we found way earlier. The only issue is she's gone into hiding, so now our job is to find her. Quick side note, there's a really great moment here between Jason and Alfred. It's one of those quieter scenes, but it hits. You can tell Jason has a soft spot for him, and when he hugs Alfred, it's actually wholesome for once. No chaos, just straight vibes, bro. After a bit of running around and connecting the dots, we finally got a location. When we arrive, Moreno is already surrounded by court members, so the mission becomes protecting her while taking down waves of enemies. Once that's handled, we finally get to talk to her. Red Hood asks if she's willing to sign the warrant, and thankfully, she agrees without too much drama. Thank goodness we are all on the same page, just a rare moment where things actually go according to plan. We then got a cutscene of Alfred bringing Montoya into the Belfry. Upon entering, she saw the Bat Fam and who they are behind the mask. So basically, Montoya now has the warrant. The only thing left to do is get Kane out of his hidey hole, which of course wouldn't be easy. It was now time to infiltrate Kane Industries. We grappled our way to the rooftop, defeated the guards, and entered the building. The door was built with some sort of proprietary armor, and only Kane's own tech could cut through it. So yeah, we AR'd some stuff until we found the laser drill. It talks too. We took it and then defeated more of Kane's security guards. We searched the security system and rewrote the access card. Now we could access everything on this floor. We headed down to the executive floors and fought a lot more guards. We deactivated the alarm and made our way to Kane's office. Upon scanning there, we found the puzzle and it was solving. It was just I'm checking it online. Yes, I have to learn the players. Nothing about should be repeated. Oh my gosh, that's a lot. Anyways, after all of that, we confronted Jacob Kane and eventually arrested him with the help of Montoya and the cops. At this part, I thought things were going too well. Guess what? I was right. He freaking got shot in the chest with an arrow by the one and only Talia. All of that hard work for nothing. We saw her trying to run away, so we chased her, did some parkour along the way. It's a huge plot twist. Talia was manipulating us all along. She being kicked out of the league was just part of the plan. The whole Bat fam were disappointed with what happened. Now everything is according to the league's plan. The league is starting to spread chaos, putting Batfam's friend and comrade into danger. Now, before I exited the Belfry, I was freaking intrigued by what this red bat symbol thing inside. I went there and we get a cutscene of the Bat fam spending time with each other. The fact that they did not let Jason feel out of place was so freaking wholesome. After that wholesome scene, we set out to protect our allies. We started with Dr. Tompkins, Lucius Fox, and saved some officers. Yeah, some officers died because I was not able to protect them. That's my bad, bro. We talked to Detective Montoya, went back to Belfry. Team said he was detecting some sort of signal. It was at the old Arkham Asylum. We explored the place and did some investigation, but we accidentally blew the breaker. We fixed it by aligning the frequencies, some radio shenanigans. Now this part, we get a cutscene where Jason saw a broken tank. Yeah, y'all know what that means. Straight up some horror movie plot. This is our first encounter with the freaking Man-Bat. We fought it. One thing for sure, this guy was kinda hard to fight at first. We managed to kill it, but Red Hood got injured along the way. We blacked out, and when we woke up, we were back at the Belfry. Red Hood said he gotta go back to the city, but dude was barely standing. I'm gonna say, bro, Red Hood's mental fortitude is freaking strong. We set out and beat more Man-Bats just to find out they were coming from the Gotham cemetery. We went there and we found a freaking ginormous tunnel. We grappled our way and followed the League's trail. We stumbled upon a collapsed Batcave and beat some assassins. It's just literally rinse and repeat till we find Talia and confronted her. We are almost at the end. Talia yapped about how Lazarus Pit not just can help people revive but can also make their mind malleable. And we saw her pull this chain up and remove the sheets. It was freaking Bruce, bro. Well, I was not that surprised because I got spoiled a long time ago. For Red Hood, my man, it's the total opposite. We fought Bruce, Mans was throwing hands, we were able to knock him a couple of times and appealed. At first it didn't work, but with the use of the Talk No Jutsu, along with beating his cheeks, but what the heck, he slowly got out of the manipulation and we brought him back. As we were about to get out of the freaking place, this piece of crap Talia came up to them and was about to stab Jason, but Bruce pushed us and freaking tanked that thing. Man, this does not make any sense. Jason, why would you let your guard down knowing Talia was there? How is that Bruce had much sharper sense than you when he can barely breathe? I can't even talk properly, man. I was freaking annoyed, bro. Of course, we fought her one more time. This time she did some more moves. She can also turn invisible and kept spouting stuff while fighting at us. As we were about to finish the fight, the owls found us too. We beat Talia, but she managed to escape, leaving us alone. And yeah, this is some endgame Captain America type shit because look at those owls, bro. He was about to fight hundreds of talons, but we suddenly hear Bruce's voice calling out Jason. He said sorry and freaking blew up the whole cave. And that's pretty much it. We then get a cutscene of Jason's voiceover. The Lazarus Pit is now gone. It got blew up to bits. Jason then hacked the whole Gotham City television, telling the whole Gotham that he will not stop fighting till they can protect themselves. Man, we are finally done with this game. Overall, I feel like this game did well, but not that well. I'm actually having 50-50 here. Based on my experience, it is not bad, but it did feel lacking and repetitive. The reason why it was that long was because of the repetitive grinding situation there. Overall, I'm gonna say the game is decent but not worth its price. Yeah, some people will say it's mid, totally understandable. Some people will say it's bad. I understand y'all. Yes, and some of us would probably compare this to the Gotham Arkham series. I mean, meh, I guess it's not that bad, bro, but it did feel annoying and frustrating at some point. So yeah, that's pretty much it for today's video. If you guys love this video, just wait for me for 3 months or 2 months. I'll be back with another banger. Yeah, and comment down below what could I do to improve videos. You know what I'm saying? Peace out. Bye bye. God bless y'all. See you guys at the next one. Skadoosh.